Hello, and welcome to Writer's Block. I'm your host, Adelina. Let's find your story. How do I know what to write? That's a good question. Sometimes I don't even know what to write, and I struggled for a very long time to figure out what to write. And then I realized I should just write because I look at Colleen Hoover and I realized that my writing actually isn't that bad. So, starting off with that. But, you know, writing really takes different forms throughout your life. When I was younger, I wrote a lot of poetry. In third grade, I there was this competition that I could um, yeah. There was this competition that I could enter, um, where I could put my poetry in, and out of all of the different kids within the country of the United States of America, also can submit above a certain grade level, and they could be put into a poetry book if your poem gets accepted. Um, and the poem that I submitted wanted, like, they said, like, oh, we want to put this in the gifted book, which is like the book for kids that are just better because I'm awesome and amazing and I'm just better. A sigma, if you will. But um, and of course, my dumb self, I did not submit the consent form that they shipped out back in time. So my poem is not in a book. So can't really call me a published author yet. So that's okay though. But over time, it just my writing started taking different forms. I strayed away from poetry. I wrote a lot of music. I'm a very very musical person. I played a lot of different instruments: guitar, bass, drums. I played violin for 8 years. Um, I'm in choir. I'm in the top choirs at my local high school. I'm homeschooled though, so I'm a little bit of an oddball. But writing, like, my writing has taken a lot of different forms. So poetry into songwriting, which songwriting is really just poetry with a musical kind of lead to it. Um, and I feel like a lot of people don't look at it like that, but it really is. It's more. I would call it advanced poetry is what I would call it. um, really. But then in fifth, I remember specifically in the fifth grade. I hated my fifth grade teacher. Still do. She, yeah, did not like my fifth grade teacher. But what she would do, which I feel like this is a lot for a fifth grader, but twice a week we would have to. She gave us these like writing journals. I don't know if she gave it to us or she said your parents have to buy this for you. I don't remember which one it was, but we had these writing journals, and that she would make us write continuously for a half hour twice a week, which I feel like writing continuously, like, she would like get on you if you stopped. So like I think there was a point in time where like I just was kind of like writing bullshit. I'm gonna be honest. I was probably writing like, I know there was at least one guy in my class, he did not want to write, and so like he showed me his notebook after, and he just wrote the word fart like a bunch of times until he thought of something else to write. So it was very very much like counterintuitive, I feel. But one of our projects that year was we had to write a story of sorts as like a project, um, which, I mean, I don't remember what mine was about. I really don't care. It probably was crap. But there was definitely more students that went like more above and beyond, and I'm sure I was probably one of those students. I don't remember. I barely remember fifth grade. I hated it so much. Um, I wanted to get to middle school really bad, but the thing is, like, okay, like, I was writing more stories, and so that that ended up honestly making me, my fifth grade year was the biggest year that really made me hate reading and writing, especially middle school. I hated essays. I still hate writing essays. I will, like, I can write you a book, I can write you a poem, maybe I can write a song. I don't know. I've written dozens and dozens of songs, and I've never pursued any of them because I've looked back and I've hated all of them. So, so I mean, yeah, like all of these different things, and then once I became homeschooled, I actually started being like, you know what, like I do want to read again. I want to like writing might not be that bad because I wasn't being forced to read these books for class, like, oh, this is the page in To Kill a Mockingbird with the N word in it. Oh, are you gonna say it? Like, you know, oh, but um, it's very, it's taken a very different turn for me, and I feel like there's a lot of people who like writing and that continue in school and they still like writing and reading and all of that. I just wasn't one of those types of people because I hate if you force me to do something, I will not do it well unless you are paying me as an employed citizen and I'm being paid to do a job and that is a part of my job description. Otherwise, if you try to force me to do something, no, I will, whether it's intentional or not, half-ass it. So, you know, but I wouldn't like half-ass my essays. Like I would do the reading, I would write the essay, I would just hate doing it. Um, so it was, yeah, just very much like after like third, fourth grade, like I hated ELA and I hated writing. I was really good at math. I always hated like I hated math. I still hate math. Really, it's not my favorite thing in the world. Obviously, I'm a writer, but this podcast is not about math, so clearly not a fan. But I was really good at math, um, so I would just more stick to that. I honestly thought that I was going to, for the longest time, thought I was going to go into a career as a teacher or to something to do with like engineering or like zoology or like some sort of like ology kind of career, like ecology, marine biology, whatever. I actually took a class last year, part of my homeschooling curriculum, marine zoology. It was actually really cool, really interesting. Not something that I'm interested in doing full time though, but it was a lot of fun. Yeah, for the longest time, I wanted to either be a YouTuber or a teacher. And look at where I am now. Which one did I pick? Hmm. But uh, but being in that, like my writing interest in writing has taken a bunch of different turns. And then becoming homeschooled, I wanted to read more. I started like wanting to dive deeper into topics that I was interested in because I was choosing what I wanted to learn, which is when I really, really got interested in film. Um, and like I watched Breaking Bad for the first time. Dude, I love Breaking Bad. I could talk about Breaking Bad for hours. Honestly, I might make a separate podcast episode about Breaking Bad because I love it so much. So much. And that's what really got me back into writing was watching Breaking Bad. As something as simple as watching one of the best TV show in the entire history of the entire world, Breaking Bad by Vince Gilligan. Um I love it, I love it, I love it. But, something as simple as watching a TV show and reading and wanting to, okay, like read the scripts, read the pilots, I've read um, you can find a bunch of different like TV shows, TV scripts, movie scripts out there if you just search up like, oh, you search a Breaking Bad script, whatever, like Better Call Saul, Young Sheldon, I'm sure like you could find like one of the biggest ones like Batman the Dark Knight scripts. You can go and read through a bunch of these scripts online. And honestly, as someone who like a screenwriter, like if you want to screenwrite, if that's what you're leaning towards, read a bunch of screenplays, and I'll get into that a little later. But um, yeah, like I've read the original Breaking Bad, the original written Breaking Bad pilot that Vince Gilligan pitched, that was edited and tweaked once it was accepted. is out there, and I've read it about a million times, and I love it so much. Honestly, like you could you could give me the entire like thing in frames, and I would like I would put it. I'd put like I make like a gallery wall with the Breaking Bad script. Honestly, hmm, I'm giving myself ideas. Um, but that's that's what got me into screenwriting. I made the first ever thing that I wrote in the verse of screenwriting. Um, because I just had the idea for it. It's a Breaking Bad spinoff show pilot that I wrote that really got me. I'm like, I want to screenwrite. I want to be a screenwriter. Like, I want to do like all of these things. And that's where I really thought that I wanted to go. And honestly, I wouldn't be against writing stuff for the screen, Um, and I still am technically, I want to continue that Breaking Bad spin-off show just as a fun side project because I love Breaking Bad so much. And I think it would just be a cool story just for me to finish for myself to have like I'm one of those people where like if I watch the first movie or I watch the first episode of something, I'm like or like the first season of a show, I'm like I have to finish it, because I just want to see the whole story through. Like that's how I was with Twilight. I watched the first Twilight movie. I'm like I have to see this through to the end. One, because it's absolutely ridiculous, and two, because I'm like I just kind of want to see where this goes. Like I have to follow through with everything, but um yeah, like I just want the how to see how the story goes myself with the spinoff. But that went into me really wanting to write my own short film series, and I wrote the first one, and then I moved into the production state of it, and I was like, I don't really want to do like I really looked at it, I'm like, I don't know. No, I don't like this. This isn't what I want to do. And in the industry itself, you just write the thing, and then someone else produces it and directs it and whatnot. But I was also like, I don't know, because the topic I was really passionate about, and I feel like it's a great topic. Um, the topic, the deregulation of children's television, um, but it was just it's a very niche topic, and the thing that what really I think threw me off is the fact that I wanted to make it stop motion. Now, I'm no Leica, right? I don't have all the materials. My dad is not the owner of Nike and funding my every move, but um, I still think it was a lot of fun to at least write the first one and to know like now like I'm moving into writing my very first book, and I'm loving every process of it. I'm loving every step of the way, and this like I feel more secure in what I'm doing now with this book than I was writing that short film, or writing like I tried writing a Despicable Me musical like my freshman year of high school. Um I try I did it's just funny to me. I started writing Despicable Me musical, and then I stopped because I don't want to be a playwright. I don't want to be a screenwriter. I like writing books, I'm very much like everything is just kind of shifted um for me, which is kind of funny because I've kind of moved through all of the different types of writing, poetry, songwriting, book writing, play, musical writing, book writing, screenwriting. I haven't tried writing a movie, but a TV show pilot, a short film. Yeah. So it's kind of funny how like, and this is kind of the point that I'm getting into the episode where you just have to try shit until it's like you have to throw shit at the wall until it sticks. Like okay, like you're boiling your pasta, you take a noodle, it doesn't stick. Okay, you're gonna let the rest of the pasta cook for the however long it takes. It's like is honestly what it really is you just have to keep going until something happens. And I mean, like I guess like a lot of people use like, oh, like the authors that like went like to like 30 different publishers before they got published and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying like, okay, if you don't get published the first time, like give up and try something else. If Because the thing is, if you feel secure in what you're doing, what you're wanting to do, then you won't have an issue going to the next publisher and the next publisher and the next publisher. And the thing is too, like when people talk about like, oh, Dr. Seuss had to go like a bajillion times until he got published, whatever. I'm like, and that was also in a time where you couldn't publish, you couldn't self-publish on like you have Kindle Direct Publishing now, or you could self-publish, but then it was um a thing where you wouldn't get recognized, you wouldn't be put out into bookstores. You'd be like at like a farmer's market with your book and you had to like convince people to read it or like something. I don't know. I don't know what they had. I don't know when Dr. Seuss first got published. I just know that I think he's dead. Yeah. That's what I know. You know, I know he wrote a bunch of children's books and then it took him a bajillion times to get published because that's what they used as an example of having a growth mindset in elementary school. The power of yet. And you have not found your what you want to write yet. You know, power of yet, I guess. I don't know. Point I have talk about La La Land. That's next on my list. Yes. Screenwriting. That's what I'm moving into. La La Land. I love La La Land. And when I'm recording this, it is October, so it is the season for horror movies. Yes. Everyone cheered, everyone clapped. Indeed. And so, but just like when I'm talking about Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, what's the Breaking oh my god, what's the Breaking Bad movie? What's the Jesse Pinkman? It's a El Camino. Yes. El Camino. Yes, that's the other one. That's the other one. And it's so good. And if you haven't watched Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul and El Camino, go do it. You choose whether or not you want to watch Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul first. Honestly, when they talk about like I think it was Giancarlo Esposito talked about this, but like the POV of someone who watched Breaking Bad first and then Better Call Saul is different than someone who watched Better Call Saul first and then Breaking Bad because it's very interesting the way that they did Better Call Saul. Is a prequel and a sequel to Breaking Bad, and it's really cool, really interesting. Love it, love it, love it. I will get off of the topic of Breaking Bad, and I will make a different episode and like a potential analysis. I don't know. I love it so much. I could talk about it for hours. But La La Land as a story, like when we get into the cinematography of things, right? But I'm just talking about writing here. I can go into cinematography of a bunch of stuff as well. But I'll I'll talk about my points. La La Land, why a lot of people love it and why a lot of people, me, classify it as a horror movie, is because it's extremely realistic. It has a sad, crappy kind of ending, but it's extremely realistic and extremely relatable, which is what a lot of people want in stories, right? Like when you're looking, especially things that you are going to make come alive on the screen rather than writing a book, because you can have a book in a fictional universe any day, any time, right? Because I feel like the people who are reading are looking. There's a lot of people that are looking for more of a fiction kind of based story. Obviously, there's like nonfiction books about like cooking and history, like the Who Was books, like Who Was George Washington, and it got the big head. Those ones. Those are hits. Those are big huge hits at the elementary school libraries. But when like you're really just sitting and watching something and taking everything in, a relatable story is one that, like, even through something more fantasy like, if you're able to like just make it feel more relatable, like really like dig into the depths of people, because, and not that you can't do that in books, but I feel like it comes alive a lot more on the screen, because when you talk about, like, there's a lot of book adaptations that don't transfer well to the screen, and there's a lot of screen adaptations where if you're to write a book about it, I wouldn't read it, because some things are just meant for the screen and some things are just meant in novels or short stories or whatever. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know? But there's a lot where there's a lot where it doesn't transfer well from screen to page or page to screen, because it's meant for that one place, and that's okay. Because when you're looking at stories, sometimes, like, you just want it to stay, like, you just want to be able to really, like, look at the facial expressions on those, like, from the people, and just, it's a different layer than to having to imagine it yourself. But also sometimes imagining it yourself in a book is sometimes brings a deeper meaning to stuff as well. Depends on who your audience is, depends on who's watching it, whatever. But some things are just meant for the screen and some things are just meant for the page, and that's gonna be that. But a very something, like, very stuff that, oh my god, if I could speak English, yes. Stuff that I really liked about screenwriting, though, is that, like, you can make just, like, right, the thing with screenwriting is that it's really all up to the actors, and you can love it or hate it. I'm kind of in the middle of it, but you're barely writing anything on the page. You want to keep it as minimal as possible, because then the actors are going to take that minimal information, they're going to make it a story of their own, which I think is really cool. But at the same time, with me, why I really switched to novel writing is because I like writing very descriptive stuff. But sometimes it's good to have that difference, with writing, having both experiences, which is why I say, like, try out multiple writing styles, see which one you like best, because there's a lot of people that, like, they like screenwriting because you don't use, right, you can write very, where it comes in, I'm trying to, like, find the best words here, but where the details really lie within screenwriting is through the dialogue, and making the dialogue relatable and seem very, like banter and stuff. And not that that doesn't happen in books, but you have more leeway in books than you do in screenwriting, because you have to really put the emotion with the words that are going to, like, you want to match the actor's face to be, and the lighting and all of that. You have to really, really set the mood in just some dialogue, like a couple lines of dialogue and a small paragraph just giving little to no description underneath it. And one thing that really helped me is I have a couple books here, both by the wonderful Michael Hodge, writing screenplays that sell. This book helped me improve a lot with my screenwriting. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's one of the best books that I've ever read, ever. And even if you're not writing screenplays, it's just a wonderful book to read, and I love it so much. And another book that'll benefit anyone is this other one, Selling Your Story in 60 Seconds. Extremely great book, and this can be used for anyone, really, anyone doing any kind of writing, anyone that wants to be published, anything. This book is amazing. It has some great advice in it, and it's coming from someone who has been in the industry for a very long time and is a super, super, super knowledgeable man. And his writing is just great. He paints a really great picture. Those are definitely, like, when anyone asks me like what books to read, especially when it comes to screenwriting, like what books to read, those who are like at the top. I love those books so much. I feel like not a lot of people know about them, but they're extremely wonderful books. And yeah, like that selling your story in 60 seconds books, that could be for anyone. Whether you're writing a book, a TV show, whatever. Like if just knowing how to pitch yourself is the biggest thing that you can do, even like with not really knowing and not being sure within your writing, like knowing how to pitch something is the biggest thing within the industry, um especially if you're talking to a company or a publisher after you figure out what you want to write, because even when knowing what you want to write, you have to also write your story with the intention of pitching it, knowing how you're going to pitch it, knowing how your audience is, because you could be writing a young adult book, you could be writing just of an adult fantasy something, whatever, like like a young adult dystopian, um and you could be confident in your story, but you could still not know how to pitch it. So one thing that I made sure before I even wrote my story, when I came up for the idea of it, one of the first things that I always do when I come up with an idea for the story, I write out a pitch line. That is the first thing I do when I come up with an idea for a story, whether it's a screenplay or book, whatever. At the top of my page and my brainstorm Google Doc that I make. Google Docs is wonderful. It's free. Use it to your advantage. There's also great screenwriting and book software. The one that I use is called Story Architect. It is also free. I love it, especially because I can just type away without, because it doesn't connect to autocorrect, or like my Grammarly doesn't connect to it. So I have no idea that there's spelling mistakes until I go through and edit it myself, and or like eventually like I'll end up pasting my book into Google Docs, and then all those spelling errors will come when I'm in like the very end of editing, and I'll plug it into Grammarly, whatever, like have all those things fix it for me, because like I mentioned, I hated English. Oxford comma, don't know how to use it. Oh well. But yeah, one of the biggest things, like just knowing, if you know what your pitch is, you will be a successful writer. If you know how to pitch, no matter what industry you're going into, you will be a successful writer. Even if, okay, if you change your story from, let's say, like, okay, you still want to write the same story, but you're starting to write it as a book and you realize it'll be better as a screenplay. That pitch will just change from pitching it as a book to a movie, but the pitch that you have will still stay the same. So then you'll be going into writing the screenplay even more confidently. And I think that, selling your story, pitching your story is one of the biggest things to do. Like what I did too, like, and this might sound a little psychotic and stupid to some people, but trust me, when I came up with the pitch for my novel, and it's like, it doesn't have to be like this big thing, like a couple sentences to start, and then you can make it longer when like you're actually like writing your story, whatever. If you come up with more stuff, whatever, like after your first draft, write your first draft first, then worry about your pitch, because you already have something and you already know where you're going. And if you want to add more to it, do it later. One thing, like focus on your story, but practice your, like, look at yourself in the mirror, right? You want to sell this. You want to sell your pitch to as many people as possible. And I think this is very, very, this is a big thing that a lot of people don't do. Practice your pitch to yourself in your mirror. Even before you start writing it, practice it like, in front, like call like your friends, your mom, your dad, whatever, like your mommy, right? Call your mommy, and or if you still live at home like I do, um, you can knock on your mommy's door and pitch it to her, or pitch it at the dinner table, whatever you want to do. Um, but like one of the biggest things that you can do in knowing what to write is start that pitch and pitch it to a bunch of people. Like I'm sure your mom will. Right, one of the things they say, like, don't like okay, pitch to your mom, like, to start, but don't just pitch to your mom, because you know what your mom's gonna do? She's gonna be like, "Oh, that's so great, sweetie. I can't wait." And it could be a total shit idea. Now, it might not be, and your mom isn't lying to you. I'm not suggesting that your mom's lying, but don't just pitch it to your mommy, okay? Pitch it to your friends. Pitch it to your brutally honest friends, like your best friend that like if you told her that, like, oh, like I messed up, like I think I messed up, I don't know, she'd be like, yeah, you messed up. That friend, you pitch it to that friend, and you say, be brutally honest with me, and let them be honest with you. And because here's the thing, your mom's gonna sugarcoat it, right? Don't pitch it to your little mommy that's going to sugarcoat it, whatever. Pitch it to your brutally honest friends that love you but will still be extremely honest. And pitch it to, I mean, don't like pitch it to strangers, but like you can pitch it to teachers, colleagues, coworkers, other words for people acquaintances, insert other words here, pitch it to anyone and everyone that you can think of. And then, because then, once you start this, you have people that are interested. And, ooh, your coworker might know someone who knows someone that might want your story. So through pitching, you can also be networking, which is also a huge thing to be doing. Networking, huge, absolutely huge, humongous thing to do with any kind of story writing. Now, when it comes to, choosing what option is really the best for you, it's up to you. It's up to you, buddy. Yup. I can't, I mean, I can't choose for you your mommy who's going to sugarcoat over your pitch. Um, is even if your mom is like brutally honest, she's still gonna sugarcoat it because she loves you because you're her little pumpkin. But, um, but, now I don't know what I'm gonna say. Oh my god. Okay. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is that you get to use your own discernment, try out a bunch of different writing styles, and just go with what's best to you. Pitch your story to yourself. Like the best thing that you can do is just come up with a bunch of ideas, pitch them to yourself as different types of stories, and things like poetry are different because those are short lines, and songs can be different. Like, something everything's a little different. But when it comes to bigger, grander stories like screenwriting and novels, pitching the story to yourself as if you were pitching it as a movie or a TV show or a book or a play, whatnot, um, really just seeing like what you feel the best pitching it as, and just, yeah, trying out a bunch of different writing styles. Like I said, the software I use, Story Architect, I really like it a lot, because it's free. They give you unlimited amounts of projects, and they have a bunch of different types of like writing formats. So you can write a novel in there and it'll look completely different than the formatting that they have for screenwriting. I love it a lot, and I like that it doesn't connect to Grammarly or as its own like autocorrect system. So if you make a spelling mistake, you don't know and you just keep on writing. Um, Another thing that I've, if you really want to get ballsy with it, there is, I forget what it's called, but there is a website where you can write, and if you delete too much or if you stop writing for 30 seconds, it will delete everything that you've written. So you can also use that to keep yourself on the track of writing. But yeah, just using your own discernment, your own intuition, making sure that, just really finding what you want, what feels best to you is really the biggest thing. I've spent years, you know, just trying to figure out what, like, with writing, um going through different phases of being in writing. I spent a whole year on screenwriting, and now I don't want to. Now I don't, like, that's not the main thing that I want to do. So just really, yeah, just really finding out what you want to write. And that's about it. If um and that's about it. If you have any questions that you want me to cover here or over on my Instagram, which is Adelina Zach Author, um, put it in the Google form. That will be down in the description below in the Linktree link, or I'll have it there. Yeah, and you can go to my website, which will also be in the description. And you can join my newsletter, and which will grant you access to a Discord with where you can connect with me and have access to responding to emails, and as well as just being able to connect with different writers, swap projects, and all of that, as well as there is a contact form on my website if you just want to go directly to me. If you have any business inquiries for some reason, I don't know. Um, I'm just trying to cover all my bases here. But yeah, and that'll be it. See you next time.